Hey guys, it's Will. In this video, we're going to be going over BlackSky, which is a space AI company. One of the things we follow quite often is going to be space tech, quantum computing, AI, and data centers, whether it's nuclear energy, could be aviation. If you want to stay up to date with those markets, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and I do appreciate the thumbs up as well. In fact, if this video gets 150 likes, we will have one of our live trading sessions available publicly for a limited time. You can see our daily live trading, one session available if this video gets 150 likes. So let's take a look at BlackSky. BlackSky Technology is a space company that has been on some runs recently. They are at $625 million market cap. And kind of how we review stocks is we go over first the market, then we're going to go over the analysis, which is broken down into three parts. And then we'll get into the third step, which is the margins for profit and risk to reward. So when it comes to the market, they're in space tech. They're in a pretty big market as they work with Rocket Lab. They are a satellite company that is building out some technology for the space market. The space market is estimated to grow pretty huge over the next few years. They have missions with Rocket Lab as well that they've done in the past. And we know that, for example, SpaceX, they're about $250 billion company. Rocket Lab is starting to get up there recently. Rocket Lab's been growing up into that market cap of about 21 billion. So you have a lot of the space market in general really looking at nearing up to $1 trillion market. And what we're looking at here for this news is they recently launched a bunch of Gen 3 satellites. And this kind of brings us to the real world usage of the market. There's two ways we look at the market. Number one, it's going to be kind of the financials of the space market. So we could search like space tech market and you can kind of get an idea. The market size, it's nearing up on $1 trillion. Really, they say $500 million right now in 2024. But in 2025, we've surpassed the $500 billion range, and they're projecting up to about 760 trillion. They're saying not trillion, billion, excuse me. They're saying about 1.8 trillion by 2035. So pretty big market expectation for space technology. So the second piece of analyzing the market is going to be the real world usage. Are they actually seeing not just the profits? Are we actually seeing this company, get into an ability to where they're real world? And that's where we were looking at the news. You could see real world usage. They're launching up to, for example, with Rocket Lab into this, into orbit with the Electron, this Gen 3 satellites that they have for mid-inclination circular 470 kilometer orbit, where it joined the remainder of the company's constellation, delivering high resolution imagery and AI enabled analytics for daily intelligence operations. So they got the real world usage. We're definitely seeing them working with a tremendous amount of momentum right now, getting up into space. Now, and Rocket Lab's a good company to see them launch. Rocket Lab, we've been following for a while. I have a friend that works there, and it's always interesting to see their new developments, and we're an investor in that company long term as well. Started looking at it really and investing in it around $3 a share, which now it's around $45 a share. Whew. But I tell you, it's definitely looking like they're one of the leaders competing with SpaceX. So you see them launching BlackSky. So BlackSky, now we kind of get into their analysis, right? We see the real world usage. We know they're getting up. What do they have going on analysis wise? Well, first thing we look at is kind of their news. The news here, you can see the company overview while they do these new launches. You got these AI analytics that are able to identify different boats, for example. So that's one of them. You got BlackSky customers get instant access to high cadence imagery and AI-driven analytics with guaranteed capacity in predefined AOIs seamlessly and securely in less than 90 minutes. So, getting satellite imagery basically of things that happened, 90 minutes ago, maybe not fully real time, but that is a tremendous feet. Now, we've seen them also get some new contracts out. So they just announced about 2 days ago, BlackSky secures 2-year Gen 3 early access agreement with a new international Gen 2 on-demand customer, 6 months from initial contract. So again, they have this on-demand contract. BlackSky continues to be recognized trusted mission partner in helping our global customers scale quickly their advanced national space capabilities and becomes among the first to acquire early access to Gen 3. So their Gen 3 satellites that they're launching are becoming legitimate for looking at vehicles, aircraft, vessels, or other objects of military interest, and enhancing the value of BlackSky's current Gen 2 dawn to dusk dynamic monitoring services. So we kind of looked at their technology, but essentially one thing to note is, they have these really high powered AIs. So we've never watched this video. I don't know if this is a video that would be worth kind of looking at, but they have some overviews. For example, they could see a secret airship being developed in China that, as you can see, I mean, these are extremely high quality images, and I kind of joke about it, but they could do facial recognition. They're so good. Another example here, cruise missile damage in Sevastopol for occupied Crimea. You got being able to see the damage very quickly. Or flooding, how is the flooding? That is a tremendous flood. Well, look at that in Derna, Libya. You kind of see real time. So they get fast real-time insights, high frequency monitoring, which is huge for relevant intelligence for the any company. It could be companies, could be commercial, but it also could be for the companies that are, or the defense companies. And so rapid decision making for fast action. You can see it's recognizing cars, it's recognizing vehicles, even some heat signatures. It looks like they got airlines, and they can see the different airliners that are going in and out of a airport or ports of entry as far as naval activity. So as we look at their Gen 3 images and we see their new contracts kind of come out, they've been securing a lot of contracts, even a Latin American contract recently in July. And we've seen, now we can kind of look more at their, aside from their products, which are AI analytics for the satellites. It's a space company, but really they have a focus on AI. And they service defense, federal, and commercial businesses. But really what we want to look at too here, they have their API, which is really cool. I find that to be super interesting, API access. I think that would be really interesting to use, even in investor software. Being able to verify different facts, things like that, as we have our investor software. And that brings us to the financials. So the financials, we're kind of going to jump into them here. And while we do, I'm also going to search this company up to get an analysis on Mercatus. So Mercatus is going to give us a full analysis here on BlackSky. It's pulling the relative financials, tying the relativity to the future timeframes, skimming the press releases, looking at all the charts for us, and it's using, in this case, OpenAI's model. We could also use Grok if we wanted to switch into Grok, but we're going to run with OpenAI. Take a minute or two, and we'll get some analysis there. But here's what we got. BlackSky, you got a market cap here of about $625 million. And you see that they're starting to see some net income dip a little bit. They've really looked good year over year with revenue increasing up to $100 million in 2024. In 2025, so far, they're on track to surpass $100 million. You can see they're averaging more than 25 million a quarter. That net income did drop a little bit in that last quarter. You see them come in a little negative. When we went to a conference in, it was Colorado Springs, it was a SpaceX sponsored conference. We got to go. I got a media pass. It was like a $2,500 value for free because we got our YouTube channel. So thank you guys for subscribing. But again, we got in there and we got to talk with BlackSky and see what they were working on. And they had a lot of contracts in the pipeline. It seemed like they were working with a lot of companies. So seeing this revenue growth year over year seemed like it was likely to continue. You also see their quarterly revenues have been, or quarterly assets. So we look at their balance sheet here. While their net income dropped in that last quarter, and the revenue was just a tad bit down overall year over year, when we've looked at them, they're up about 8% year over year. Their net profit margins were up about 2% increases. And their assets here on the quarterly basis, you do see their assets holding steady and increasing up to that 310 million. Did see the liabilities increase just a little bit more there than the assets, which isn't good. Not really good to see the liabilities increase on a percentage basis more than the total assets. But sometimes in the growth phase, that's okay. And while it might look like, oh, their assets are increasing more than their liabilities are going up more than their assets, you could look at that. But you also see in total, their total assets are holding more. They got about 310 million assets, and liabilities are just about 224 million. So they're looking good as far as balance sheet. They're fairly disciplined, and sometimes the liabilities can fluctuate there just a tad bit. So, looking at their cash on hand and stuff, they're holding their cash about 52 million. Not too bad for a company in that $625 million market cap. So this kind of brings us to, we went through the market, went through the news, the financials. Now we could actually jump into the chart here, take a look at BlackSky. So BlackSky is a company, we actually have some open positions on, about 34% up right now. We were able to buy down here earlier this year in June, and we rode it as high as $28 a share, and we're still holding it. We didn't sell, we're still in it, up 34%. At one point we were up over 100%, which is awesome. But again, still holding. It's a long-term position, and we continue to add. And primarily that position is holding for the reasons that we kind of talked about in the financial side of things, seeing increases. But this is what we're looking at on the chart. The chart's a little bit less favorable. What we see here is, they've had these levels we were watching. We really were looking for a swing earlier this year from $8 up into $17. We got that. Then we were looking for that swing from $17 up into $28. We got that. Now we see them pull back down, and they kind of pulled back down. It is a previous support here, and what seems to be kind of a previous consolidation / resistance here, right around $17 a share. And they did pull down and had earnings recently where they dipped below momentarily, but they're trying to hold above that $17 price point. The overall downtrend, though, is what we're seeing, right? So since overall uptrend, really, but since about July 15th, you can see that they've kind of pulled down, kind of starting this downtrend here, even getting rejected by that 200-day moving average. So oftentimes that green line in a bullish market would act as a support to hold them above. That green line in a bearish market kind of acts as a resistance. And you can see they got above water for a second, but struggled to stay above it. And so you see them pull back down, again, reaching that lowering resistance level right here at about 1850. And then they kind of pulled back down some more there. You see them struggling to keep that momentum. So on the technical side, it looks like we're seeing some sell downs with the current trend, almost as if we could see a sell down here into this $12 range. That's not the most bullish way to look at it. It's definitely a more very conservative way to look at it, is this sell down in this $12 range. But that's kind of what the trend is looking like. Now they do have a support level here though, so that would be about a 25% sell down. You see this support here at $17 we mapped out. What we'd be looking for is, from a bullish perspective, would be kind of a breakout above that $18 range. So kind of seeing maybe a breakout above this $18 range, then potentially looking for a shorter term entry for that trade would be about a 15% margin for profit to the nearest resistance level, which would be right here. So that'd be about 15% margin for profit from the breakout, and then maybe what could be a 25% to that next resistance, and then to all-time or to highs that we saw back in June July would be a 58% increase from here. So again, just kind of watching that $17 price point. What we would like to see is them break out of this downtrend and actually maybe make this run up in this $21 range. But what momentum's kind of indicating and how it's looking right now, it's struggling to hold that $17 range. So the profit margins, again, if we're looking at that kind of bullish play, we're talking about 10 to 30% margins. And a support level, the risk is a little higher. You see them, kind of selling down here. So you'd want to keep the risk tight. At least that's how why we would do that is we'd look for basically, somewhere around the $17 support. If we see it really break it, that would be more of the short-term risk management for them for a trade. But ultimately, we'd be looking, probably cutting losses somewhere around 2%, 3%, but expecting, somewhere in this 10% to 20% margin for profit for BlackSky. So that's kind of what we're watching on the near term. Long term looks pretty good. Of course, we're eyeing those levels. We'd love to see it get back into that $28 range. It's about a 67% increase. And we could see that in the long term, absolutely. Just a matter of kind of patience. In my eyes, I feel like they're on the right track. And an AI analytics company paired with the emerging space market seems like a great market fit. And we're seeing that kind of show up with their contracts right now. So those are going to be what we're watching. When this move happens, I'm going to stay alert. We'll be watching it very closely. We also trade every morning at market open. So when that move happens, we're usually in the market live sessions. If you ever want the targets for the week, we release all the targets for the upcoming weeks with our different companies. The different facts are coming out, and as well as the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday earnings. If you want to see when companies are reporting pre-market or after hours, we release all of those every week. This is from a different week here, but this is kind of how we release those earnings and those targets. But again, watching the daily live trading, it's happening tomorrow morning at market open. If you want to join us there, we do trade. It's Friday tomorrow. It's a little early in the morning, about 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're live for about 30 minutes. But if you want to join us, again, it's the second link in the description. And we got a special sale for you if you want to get lifetime access to stock meets. Now, the other key for this is how to play the quantum markets, the space tech markets, the data center markets. Really what we're watching here is going to be that we have a plan. We don't know whether or not the market's going to continue down until rate cuts. We don't know that BlackRock or whoever potentially could sell some shares. Predicting the future is never going to be the strong suit. Executing the plan will be. So again, when we're looking for that maybe 5 to 10% or 15% margin for profit here, or even 20% margin, it would be important to have a clear plan, execute the plan accordingly, and keep our risks low with those margins for profit high in companies that have high probabilities of institutional attracting value like BlackSky. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If I earned your thumbs up, hit the like button. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.